I would like to invite Tuhin Kanta Pandey, Secretary DIPM, Ministry of Finance, Government of India, to address our August gathering.
Thank you very much, Economic Times, for inviting me to this very important event, ETInfra Investors Meet 2021. It's my pleasure to be here and share my thoughts on the subject asset monetization and disinvestment. Well, these are two important things that was announced by Honorable Finance Minister in the last year budget, and since then a lot of developments have taken place. As you're aware, we had National Investment Pipeline (NIP) of 111 trillion rupees over a 5-year period, and we have unveiled. In fact, Honorable Finance Minister actually unveiled the asset monetization plan, which is being coordinated by Niti Aayog, of 6 trillion rupees, which is a very ambitious plan over a period of up to 2024. The NMP essentially is the way to sum up all the different types of public-private partnership, asset recycling happens, which will happen in various ministries, especially if you say that the roads constitute about 27% of this pipeline, railways 25%, and power 15%. Put together, they're about 60% plus. Oil and gas pipeline, telecom, warehousing, mining, urban areas, airports, sports stadiums, and tourism. And this plan, as you know, also includes various initiatives like TOTs, InvITs, REITs. It also includes the airport privatization, the public-private partnership in ports, as well as in other areas, and of course, joint venture exit also can take place among the companies who are, participating in different infrastructure projects. We have had some successes, as you're aware, in terms of TOTs and InvITs. Power Grid InvIT and NHAI InvIT have gone out well. There are some issues which have been addressed, and there are some other issues which are on the table. And the Department of Economic Affairs and Niti Aayog, along with other departments, are closely looking at various suggestions to improve the asset monetization pipeline, as well as the terms of the contracts and so on. Now, this is a very important initiative in terms of the triggering of capex cycle. As you know, that various commentators have really indicated that we are on the verge of triggering a very virtuous investment cycle, where a lot of investments, especially from the private sector, will take place. There is a CRISIL report which also indicates that over a period of 2020 and 24, there's about 30% likelihood, 30% increase in the private capital formation, especially important drivers being the PLIs, the PLI schemes in 13 sectors, as also in the green capex and green transition that is happening. Also, the fact that the steel and the cement and other industries are looking up in terms of their capacity utilization, and they're looking for newer opportunities. We have got corporate profitability fairly in good shape, and coupled with the tax reforms, reduction of the income tax for the corporates, especially for capital investments, new capital investments. I think that is creating the, along with the geopolitical changes which have taken place over the last 1 or 2 years, making India an attractive destination also for the FDI. to come in various areas. So the asset monetization part on the core side. We do have also the asset monetization on the non-core side, which is also being triggered. And when I say non-core, it's basically land and surplus assets that the public sector and the government departments might have, which are underutilized at the moment, and they could be put to use to create a greater momentum to the economy. And for example, I would give you an example of MTNL, BSNL properties, for example. There is a package which the MCNL, BTNL got it from the ESNL, got it from the cabinet, which included a very important component of asset monetization over a period of few years of the order of 50 to 60,000 crores. And many of these properties have been identified. The first set of properties have been recently put out in the domain MSTC portal for monetization through e-auction and e-tender come e-action route. And going forward, more properties will come forward there. In order to also have a sustained basis for non-core monetization, a few changes which have taken place in the tax laws. A very important change has come in the stamp duty legislation, where if the government undertakings, the government PSUs, they divest certain assets out of they demerge certain assets out of their parent companies in order to do the monetization later. That will not be, the demerger itself will not be subject to the stamp duty taxation. And there is a big plan for example, the PSUs under divestment. We have, for example, the Shipping Corporation of India, the BEML, and also some other organizations like which are under disinvestment. If those land and other non-core assets are taken away, you could arguably not have more opportunities going forward with the real estate thing, while divestment can continue. So this will also aid the divestment, because the non-core assets, many a time, the companies are not willing to take it as a part of the operations. So the second important change in the laws have come in terms of capital gains taxation, where also this kind of demerger will not mean a capital gains for the companies from where the assets are being separated. And subsequently, when these assets are being monetized, the capital gains can come in at a subsequent stage. So these two laws, along with our plan also to create a specialized company, a special purpose vehicle, where we could actually, not only house some of these assets, but also this company could act as an important enabler through a fee-based structure to help the CPSCs which are under closure, or the CP under divestment, and there they can actually take the help of this SPV when it comes to be formed, so that we have greater momentum for the asset monetization. Currently, under the government of India, there's no specialized land monetization agency, and the need has been felt for a long time to have such an agency which can, trigger this kind of cycle. Also to have greater capacity building in this agency to have it happen. So this is broadly the national, I would say, the asset monetization plan. And going forward, this will become an important component of the government's reform program. The other component is the divestment, strategic disinvestments, and I think more particularly is privatization, whereas you know that the government has announced a new PSC policy on 4th of February 2021, which lists a certain areas, strategic areas, broadly four areas strategic areas where government will retain out of the existing enterprises in these strategic sectors bare minimum, which means that lots of these organizations which are there in strategic area too will be put to privatization, but certain others will be retained in the public sector. But in the non-strategic sector, that means sectors other than these core, strategic sectors would be either privatized or even considered for closure. So we have this policy is very, very important policy. I would say since 1991, one of the most important policies for how government looks at the PSCs. The whole objective is to trigger economic growth potential and employment potential that is lying unlocked in these enterprises. Government has lots of priorities, especially on the social side, and obviously not enough capital to put it into economic sectors. And even in the private hands, these enterprises can grow and create more employment, and also very more aptly address the issues of fast technological changes which are taking place in the industries, especially, and also the services side. Now, I would say that following these policies, as well as prior to certain decisions of the cabinet, there have been many divestments which are there, which are being taken slowly to the logical culmination as the investors' interest gets heightened, and they come forward for participation in the bidding process. We would be able to, put in more and more enterprises to bidding process and their exit as a management control. The Air India is, as you are aware, that privatization has been finalized, and very soon the closure will also take place and the change of will happen. We have also about 5 to 6 transactions, the privatization transactions, which we are targeting to close during this year, this financial year. And of course, we have a very important issue of LIC IPO coming forward in the last quarter, for which we are preparing ourselves hard. And a lot of preparations and have taken place. Advisors are in place. We have DRHP work is in progress. Embedded value will be found out soon by the professionals who have been engaged in the process. And LIC is in touch with various other stakeholders to see that this IPO can come out soon in the market as promised in the last quarter of the financial year, which will be the first quarter of the next calendar year. Now, this is broadly the plan. There will be also as you know, that IDBI Bank privatization is also underway, and we expect that expression of maybe December and January in consultation with the RBI to come out through a competitive process, bidding process. We also intend to, both government and LIC, both intend to pass on management control of this bank. We do have other things in pipeline, which will be as and when decisions are taken by the CCEA, the Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs, they will be brought in. We've some steel units in pipeline. We have got some of the health units in the pipeline. Got some consulting companies, as also the companies which have already been announced, namely shipping, Bemel, Pavan Hans, and Nilachal Ispat Nigam Limited, BPCL. these are the companies where transactions are going on, and we hope to close them soon. So this is broadly the plan. I would say that we are moving forward steadily, gradually, building our capacities and taking into consideration with collegial decision making. Also, importantly, we have our process is extremely transparent. It's an open competitive bidding process, and we hire the professionals. Our reserve value is fixed only after the financial bids have been locked in, so that there is absolutely no cause for concern for anyone. We want the best value of money for the public assets that we have. But obviously, this also requires a strong interest from private bidders to come forward and participate in the offerings that we have. So I would say that investors will have a busy time in terms of both the divestment as well as asset monetization. Different kinds of offerings would be available for, as I said, complete of different kind. A complete privatization, change of control, and could be a partial one in terms of market-based disinvestment, for example, LIC IPO, where the investors can broadly participate without, of course, government ceding management control. Then the asset monetization, which are more in the nature of public-private partnership and long-term concessions. And so this whole sort of range of offerings could be available for private investors to come in and participate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kanta, for the insightful information. Ladies and gentlemen, do share these valuable inputs by our esteemed speakers with their colleagues on social media using the hashtag ETInfra Investors Meet.